What's up guys, Nick True here, and today we are going to be talking about the 9 things you should be doing with your money in 2019. Now, as the end of the year comes up in just a couple of weeks, a lot of us are thinking about how we can make 2019 the best year that we've ever had. How can we make it better than this past year? How can we do things that we really wish we would have already been doing? And in order to do a lot of the things that we want to do, we need to have our money situation under control. As you know, I don't think that money for the sake of money is a good thing. It's meaningless. What we should be doing is viewing money as a tool that we use to get to do the things that we really want to do. So that's what we're going to be talking about. The 9 specific things that you should be working on in 2019 with your money so that you can get that stuff taken care of and get on living the life that you really want to be living. All right, number 1 is probably the toughest one, and that is to forgive yourself, to stop judging yourself for the stuff you've done in the past when it comes to money. All the guilt, all the shame that you have felt around finance and the decisions that you've made up until this very moment, you and me here together talking about this, I need you to forgive yourself for those decisions and not feel guilty and shameful about it. Recently, I watched a video on procrastination by one of my favorite YouTubers, Thomas Frank, and he shared a lot of research that showed that people who forgave themselves for procrastinating in the past, who didn't beat themselves up about procrastinating, actually were way less likely to continue procrastinating in the future. They were much more likely to get on studying or doing whatever it is they were procrastinating on. It's the exact same way with money. If you are actively trying to get better with money, but in the back of your head, you're still beating yourself up about past decisions you've made, you're never going to be able to get ahead because you've got too much energy focused on the negative things that happened in the past rather than focused on the positive things that can happen in the future and how to get there. Speaking of the future, that brings us to the second thing that you should be working on in 2019 with your money, which is to nail down your goals and nail down your why. Let me explain that. I know that I talk about this all the time, but the reason is because your why is always changing. And so you should always be bringing the conversation back up. The why is why you want to be good with money. It's why you're watching this video right now. For me and Hannah, honestly, one of our biggest whys for why we want to be good with money has to do with giving ourselves options. Hannah and I moved 4 times in the first 3 years of our marriage. I like to make the joke that finally we wisened up and we just got a house with wheels on it so that we could move it wherever we wanted. The point is that we really value options. We really value being able to change our minds and go somewhere new and try something different. The only way that you can do that effectively is if you have your money situation under control. Because if you don't, money will act like a pair of handcuffs and keep you chained to a life that you may not be happy with. Of course, that's not the only reason we want to be good with money. There's plenty of other reasons, like helping our parents out in the future if necessary, being able to adopt kids down the road. There's a lot of reasons why. The bottom line here is that getting good with money can be really difficult. And the only way that you're going to be able to push through those difficult times is if you have a really clear reason why you're trying to do this. And on the same note as why you're trying to get good with money, number 3 is to allow yourself to dream big. 2 years ago, Hannah and I bought this Airstream that we now live in. 2 years before that, we first started talking about it. We first started talking about what RV life could be like. It took us a long time to make a plan, lay the groundwork, save the money, and then eventually move into the Airstream. But the reason we were able to do all that in the first place is because at the very beginning, we dared to dream big. We dared to dream differently than what basically everybody else was doing. Now, you may not want this life at all. Living in a camper and traveling could sound like a terrible way to live to you, and that's fine. What I simply want you to do is dare to dream big. Dare to ask big what-if questions. So now, let's talk about actually making those things happen. We're going to shift from mindset stuff to practicality. Number 4 is to focus on a system that works for you, not a system that works for me or anyone else. There are tons of different ways to budget. There are tons of different apps and tools to use. If you watch this channel, you know that I'm a big YNAB fan and a fan of tracking every single dollar, but that doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. I want you to look and see and do research on all the different budgeting methods that are out there and the different ways to manage your money. All of them work. The key is to find the one that works for you and your family. The vast majority of people don't have any kind of system. Their system is spend money and sometimes look at the bank account, sometimes look at the credit cards and hope it all works out. The quickest way to not get where you want to go is to do that. So do me a favor and dedicate some time to finding a system that will work for you. If you're curious about the different types of popular budgeting methods, I will leave a link down in the description below to a video where I cover that. Okay, number 5 is to take small steps in the right direction. Don't don't try and do too much at once. If you're not saving very much money right now, or you're just barely making all of the minimum payments on your credit cards and your debts, what I don't want you to do is to read some article online about saving 50% of your income and then decide to sell your house, your car, and get a new job all in the same week. And yes, now I'm going to save all this money. That is not going to happen. There's no way. All that's going to do is cause you a ton of stress and anxiety, not work, and then you will relapse into your old spending habits and just not do anything. What I would much rather you do is to take small steps in the right direction. Start with saving just $20 a month. Then the next month, try and save $30. Then the next month, try and save $40. If you start with small steps, you are much more likely to actually stick with it over time. Whereas if you try and go big all at once, it's not going to work. Now, you've probably heard take small steps in the right direction before, but what is that right direction? Well, that brings us to number 6, which is to focus on growing the gap. Now, I first heard this phrase from Paula Pant from Afford Anything, although I don't know that she invented it, but I did like the way she laid it out. When I say grow the gap, that is the gap between your income and your spending. You want to make that as big as possible without being miserable. As you might have already figured out, there are 2 ways to grow it. You can decrease your spending and increase your income. Those are the 2 options. A lot of times on this channel, I focus on the decreasing expenses portion of it, but growing your income is really just as important, if not more so in some cases. So when it comes to taking small steps in the right direction, I want you to focus on decreasing your spending as much as you can without being just horribly miserable. Get rid of all the stuff that you're spending money on that honestly you really don't want that much anyways. You're just doing it because either it's expected of you or it's habit. But once you've done that, once you're budgeting and you've got those expenses as low as makes sense, next it's time to turn towards your income. Get on Google and start researching how to negotiate for a raise. Get on Google and start researching how to start flipping stuff on the side and make a little side money. There are tons of ways to increase your income in 2019. One of my personal favorite ways is to focus on growing a freelance business on the side. But even this growing the gap stuff and increasing income and decreasing expenses, you've probably thought a lot about this before, but for some reason it's never stuck. That brings us to number 7, where we set a specific date and time for you to sit down and work on your finances. I want you to pause this video right now, grab your phone, and immediately set yourself a time where you will sit down and review your financial situation and actually implement one change. Literally pick a time on the calendar, schedule an appointment with yourself and your computer to sit down and deal with this. Honestly, if you're watching these videos on YouTube about how to get better with money, you likely know at least a little bit of what you should be doing. You're just not doing it. That's where setting an appointment with yourself will make a huge difference. Hannah and I have already scheduled 2 days at the beginning of 2019 to go to a hotel, get away from everything, life as we know it, and sit down for 2 focus days and just talk about 2019, our plans, and how we're going to get there. Once you've got the initial date on the calendar that you hopefully just booked right now, then I want you to also set some sort of regular cadence. Maybe it's once a week, maybe it's once a month. But at some sort of regular interval, you need to be checking in on your finances and checking in on your goals and seeing that you're actually making progress or you're not, and then figure out how to course correct if you need to. All right, number 8. This might be the second hardest one that I'm going to say, and it has to do with surrounding yourself with the right type of people. Now, I already did a video just on this subject, and if you're interested in that, I will link it below. But what I need you to understand is I don't want you underestimating the impact that the people around you have on you. A lot of us think that we are very strong, independent people that aren't influenced by our environment or the folks we spend time with. Maybe they're just friends and we love them and they don't really impact us. But science would beg to differ. The New England Journal put out a study a few years ago where they tracked 12,000 people over the course of 32 years. Now, they looked at a lot of different factors and different aspects of these people's lives, but one of the most interesting findings was that if you had a close friend who became obese during that time period, your chances of also becoming obese increased 57%. If you take this finding and you apply it to money, what I'm telling you is that if the people you spend the vast majority of your time with spend a lot of money and go into debt and don't care about budgeting and don't have big goals or big ambitions or aren't moving in a similar place that you're trying to go towards, if they're not doing any of that, then you may need to limit your time with them in 2019. This is why it's hard. I'm not saying to cut out your friends and ruthlessly be like, sorry man, I can't spend time with you. That's not what I'm saying. But if you are serious about getting a handle on your money and doing something different and getting ahead, then you do have to limit your time with those kinds of people. All right, the 9th thing that you need to be doing with money in 2019 is actually pretty similar to number 8. It has to do with other people. And that is, I want you to run your own race. It is so easy today to get caught up in what our coworkers are doing, what's happening on Instagram, who's dating who's buying this, who's moving there, who's traveling where. All of these things, they bombard us every single day. But the thing is that those people aren't like you. They don't have your wants. They don't have your strengths. They don't have your weaknesses. They don't have your skills, your unique abilities, your unique situation. And so what they're doing in their financial life has absolutely nothing to do with you. There's a really famous photo of Michael Phelps where he is swimming in a competition about to win the race. And when you look at his eyes, you can see that he doesn't care who is beside him. He is simply focused on winning the race, whereas the guy beside him is focused on Michael Phelps. I've seen this photo posted on Pinterest before with the caption, "Winners focus on winning, losers focus on winners." Now, while personal finance isn't a competition, you're not literally competing with the people around you to see who can manage their money better. I do think that there's a lot of truth in this photo that you can apply to our finances. The point is simply that if you want to be good with your money, if you want to manage your money well so that you can live the life that you have dreamed of, you can't be busy worrying about what everybody else is doing. I say this all the time, and it's because it needs to be hammered home. Personal finance is called personal finance for a reason. It's personal. Don't be focused on anybody else. Simply focus on what you want 2019 to look like and how you can manage your money in a way to help you get there. All right, that's what I plan to be focused on in 2019, and it's what I think you should be focused on in 2019. Please leave me a comment down below and tell me the one thing you're actually going to implement with your money moving forward. As always, subscribe to this channel for more videos just like this if you're serious about getting ahead with your money. Just remember, I can teach you these 9 things you should be doing in 2019, but I can't make you do it. The choice is yours. I'll see y'all next time.